Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Sean Seal, and this is the Holistic Nutrition Hub podcast, the show where we discuss all the important topics that will help you succeed in the nutrition industry. On this episode, I interview Sherry Rothwell about how to enroll new clients into your nutrition business. Sherry is a registered holistic nutritionist, a weight loss mentor, and a business coach for nutritionists and health coaches. If you still have doubts on how to find your niche and how you should enroll new clients into your practice, you need to listen to this episode. Sherry takes you step by step through the client enrollment system that she teaches in her business course. She breaks down all the important components into manageable parts to help you confidently take on new clients with her proven system. Don't forget to subscribe to our show on iTunes and support us by giving us a 5-star review. Enjoy the episode, guys. Hey, Sherry, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been a while since we last spoke. I think it was when Lynn and I were on your podcast, if my memory serves.
Yeah, and I'd love to have you both back.
We'll definitely have to do a second one up after this one for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
So for our listeners that don't know you yet, could you tell us a little bit more about your story and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, sure. So, it stems back from, of course, like most holistic nutritionists, I actually started off with a health issue in my early 20s. I was diagnosed with mono. And at that time in my life, I knew nothing about holistic health at all. I happened to be an esthetician, so I worked in the salon putting nail polish and nail polish remover on my body all day, being exposed to like hairdressing toxins. And, even though I wasn't a hairdresser, I was around the hairdressers. And I ended up being, I impacted my immune system negatively because of all of that toxicity. And when I had been in school, my instructor at the aesthetics training place that I was at, he told me, go to the health food store and get this remedy called evening primrose oil because it's really great for your hair, skin, and nails. And when I went to this health food store, I met this woman. She was standing in front of me, 8 months pregnant, telling me how she'd been diagnosed with endometriosis and told that she would never, ever be able to have a baby. And of course, she was standing in front of me and she was pregnant. And so she planted a seed in my mind that just because you're diagnosed with something that's considered incurable, it doesn't mean that that's true and that there are other alternative ways. So when I got diagnosed with mono, what they tell you is basically go home and sleep for a couple of years and here's some antibiotics for strep throat, right?
Sounds like a great strategy.
Yeah, exactly. So I just thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to go back to the health food store and meet that woman and see what she has to say because of her story. It just really opened my mind to a whole new world of possibilities. So I went in there and, as an esthetician, I was making minimum wage plus tips. And she was so kind. She went to the book Prescriptions for Nutritional Healing. She opened it up to the page that gave all the remedies, for, supplements, diet, everything for mono. And she gave me 30% off because she knew that I, didn't have a lot of money at the time. So I bought as much as I could with the money I had with 30% off. And I literally went home and I started taking the supplements. I spent every minute that I wasn't at work because I actually never missed a day of work. Once I did, I actually, everything that I did worked so well that I was able to carry on with my life, which is pretty unheard of. So I took everything she recommended and then I spent my evenings and weekends in coffee shops, libraries, and health food stores, learning everything I could about how to be healthy. And in that process, I discovered that I had this passion for nutrition. And it was, it just came into my life. It wasn't something I would have ever imagined. I mean, before this, like I said, as an esthetician, I was really into beauty and, not for health. I wanted to be an actress. I wanted to be, a singer. It was so left field that this came into my life. But when I found it, I just knew that it was my passion and forever. It's been over 20 years now and that passion has never left me. So yeah, that's really what got me on the journey is my own personal experience and then wanting to share that with others.
And so from that point forward, how did you go from taking care of yourself, learning about nutrition to now teaching in a nutrition school, running a nutrition business program? So tell us how that transition happened.
Yeah. So I started off working in health food stores. So I quit my job as an esthetician because I was like, I'm not passionate about this anymore. I don't even want to wear makeup, never mind, nail polish and high heels. So I started working in the health food store. And I worked in health food stores for like, I don't know, it was like 3 or 4 years. And then I, took maternity leave, had a baby, became a doula, then opened a retail store that was a natural mom and baby store. And, it has supplements and herbs and organic clothes for babies and, all that kind of stuff. And then transitioned into being a doula and, went through this phase where all of my, natural health focus was on mothers and young children because that's the phase of life that I was in. And then at sort of just before my daughter Jasmine was born, actually, I finished the night she went into labor. I finished my last course to get certified with the Edison Institute of Nutrition. And then from there, I had her. And then I was like, you know what? I want to study more because the studying by correspondence, it misses that community feel, right? And learning from teachers. So I moved to, we sold our house. We moved to Vancouver. I studied at CSNN there. And then from there, after I graduated from CSNN in Vancouver, then moved back to Manitoba, where I got all my initial experience as a holistic nutritionist. So, working a lot in the community, focused on mom and baby health, fertility, gut health, food sensitivities, eczema, because that's a struggle that I went through with my son, and we overcame using actually David Rowland's leaky gut diet, who is the founder of the Edison Institute of Nutrition. And through that process, I, like most nutritionists, had to discover how to actually run a business, because just because I knew how to help somebody did not mean that I knew how to actually run a business or get clients, right? So over the years, I have taken like I don't know, countless trainings in business, internet marketing, consulting, sales, all these different coaching methods, to learn everything that I could to basically be able to inspire people to utilize the service. Because one of the problems with holistic nutrition is that people don't know what that is. So, you just can't put a poster up somewhere saying holistic nutrition services and expect to get clients, because the average person doesn't know what that is. Number one. Number two, they don't actually know that nutrition can help them with their health problems. They think that their health is up to genetics, and, they don't really understand that food can be used as medicine. So I was doing everything that I possibly could to learn how to actually market, because that is the only way that you can get in front of clients and share what you do. And then, then you have to learn sales, right? Because if you don't learn sales, then you don't know how to actually enroll somebody into actually taking the step and committing to the work and, doing a package with you so that they can stay with you long enough to get the transformation. So I learned everything I could about business. And I actually even took, a break from nutrition consulting, and all I was doing was business consulting for, nutritionists, health coaches, and other holistic healers. But then I ended up, it was on my bucket list to teach at CSNN, and I moved to Kelowna. And then I was hired to teach at the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition here. And I've been teaching here for 4 years. But as I started teaching again, I was like, what am I doing? Like, I don't want to just do business coaching. Like, I want to work with clients again. So it just kind of, pulled me full circle back to the work. But it was almost, I kind of felt like the universe kind of tricked me into thinking I was just going to do business coaching and to certify as a business coach so that I would go deep enough into it so that I could teach others. Otherwise, I would have sort of just had that for myself. So now I get to utilize it in my own business, which my focus is weight loss. But I can also translate everything I've learned and condense it down into one course that includes everything that's specific to holistic nutritionists and health coaches, which is something that, you don't get. There's a lot of trainings out there that are for holistic practitioners, but they don't really narrow it down to how it applies specifically to a holistic nutrition business. So that's how I landed here.
That's a fascinating story. And I think it's interesting that, like you said, you went deep into the business stuff. I had a phase like this myself, and I find it's really helped in a lot of ways. Just geeking out on SEO and how to create good content that gets you traffic from Google, all the stuff that you never think about when you're in training to become who you're going to be. For me, it was personal training, but for you and many others, holistic nutrition, you don't think of that aspect of the business, but it really hits you. It hit me as soon as I got my certificate in the mail.
Yeah, exactly.
I challenged the exam online. I passed it. I got my certificate. I purchased insurance, and then I was like, okay, Now what?
Yep, exactly.
No, nobody knew who I was. Nobody knew what I was doing, and now I had to
Yeah.
start getting clients. And my course did not include any of that. And my
Right.
understanding is that the CSNN curriculum and other nutrition schools still include some business uh,
Yes.
courses in there, but it's nowhere as extensive as what you would have done on your own. Digging into it for so long.
Yeah, and it's even inside of CSNN being a holistic nutrition school, the business teaching is from a textbook that is for holistic practitioners, not specifically just for health coaches or holistic nutritionists, right? So it's not,
Yeah.
unfortunately, it's just basic general overview. And stuff you do need to know for sure, but there's just so much more depth that you need to go into. Like you really have to learn. It's not just about getting a business name and registering it and, knowing the legalities of your practice. It's really the sales and the marketing and internet marketing, because at this point in time, you really do need to, if you don't have a website, you at least need to be, having like email and a Facebook page or something like that where people can message you. So that's, a whole different ballgame. And, it takes time to learn it and to learn the internet technology. That's, a big obstacle for a lot of people, because like you said, most people don't go into business in their mind with a picture of I can just thinking back to when I was in school. I remember sitting there. All I was imagining was like serving clients. I couldn't think at all of like, how would I get there? And how would they become my clients? And what would that like? I just didn't think at all about the business side of it.
Yeah, it seems like at the start, that's all you're doing is just business stuff to try and get your first few clients. And
Yeah.
then slowly can transition into getting more clients. And once you have too many clients, then you can start paying someone to do the business stuff for you, right? That's
Yeah.
kind of, I'm sure, the dream for many practitioners. So in your opinion, with all the experience that you have on the business and the marketing side of things, what are the 2 or 3 key things to do off the bat that somebody might not learn in school when it comes to starting your nutrition business?
Well, the first thing is you actually have to decide on a niche. And that is like, if you can't do that, then every single time you go to learn, like if you have any marketing strategy given to you, if you don't have somebody who you're actually marketing to, like somebody in mind with a specific problem that you solve, and ideally a system created that solves that problem so that you're actually confident when you get on a sales call that you can actually help them, right? Because if we don't have the confidence, then we just, we feel afraid, right, of sales anyways. It's like one of the things that people are the most scared of. So really knowing what your niche is, like that's a first step to marketing, because if you don't know, then you're going to try to create something that's really general sounding. And if it's general sounding, then people will think that's nice, but not necessary. And I don't want to pay money for it. So that's the biggest thing. And that's one of the things that people struggle with the most is niching, and it's not even that hard to necessarily figure out your niche when you have the systems and tools to do it, which of course that's something that I teach in the Nourish Nutrition Business Program. But it's getting around over the emotional aspects of it. The thing of thinking, well, if I choose a niche, then what if I can't help that? Does that mean I can't help somebody else with a different problem? Or, will I be stuck and married to that forever? Or I'm afraid to narrow things down because of like a fear of there's not enough clients out there. So people want to like throw the net wide. They think they can get more clients. But actually it's the opposite, right? So say, for example, you are somebody who I think of 2 things when you choose your niche. It should be something you're passionate about and that you have experience with personally. If you don't have experience with it personally, because some people come to the work as they're young and they haven't really had a lot of health problems, but at least it's something you're super passionate about that you wouldn't ever want to stop studying and learning about. If you start from that place, then you are able to really, get into that niche and really think about how you can solve the problems of that niche and keep studying that and put together, a really good program, and then be able to speak to somebody's specific problem. So say, for example, if you had the yeast infections or bladder infections and you had them chronically, and the difference would be, think about it this way. If you put a business card in a health food store and it said holistic nutrition consulting, most people just walk past it unless they're already like super passionate about nutrition, and they're probably do-it-yourselfers and they'd rather just go and learn everything online, but they're sort of curious about what you're doing. That's usually what you would attract with that. Or you can put on your card that you specialize in helping people to heal themselves of their chronic bladder infections. And so every person who has chronic bladder infections that sees that when they're walking by is like, oh, that's for me. And then they're going to pick it up. And they know what it is that you can help them with. And that makes all the difference.
So essentially, you have to know yourself before you start helping others.
Exactly. Yeah. And one of the things I think people spend too much time on is looking at like how their business looks from the outside instead of doing the inner work to actually, create a business that's like a match to, who you are, what you love, and then, working for a group of people that you love serving, that you feel confident that you can help, and designing the system that gives you the confidence that you can help. So that's all the behind the scenes stuff that we do. But sometimes what happens instead is we get all concerned about, I want people to, think I'm professional and trust me based on, my brand or my logo or something like that. And then they put a lot of money into websites and, the graphic design, but they haven't done that inner work yet on their business. So whatever they create in 3 months from now, they feel like is no longer a match, and they've already like grown so much, and maybe their interests have changed or whatever. And so, it can become obsolete very soon. And then you've put all this money into something that you need to go and do again. And I don't say this from like, a place of judgment. It actually comes from a place of experience. Like I've done this before, right? Like so much of what I have to share is because I've done it the wrong way. I didn't, come out of the womb good at marketing or sales or business. Like I had to learn all this stuff.
Yeah, and these are really important things to learn. So when somebody has figured out their niche, so it sounds like you want to do that ahead of time. You want to do this before you start a website, before you start putting together programs, offerings. You need to figure out what you're good at, what you're passionate about, what experiences you've had, and use this as your template to then build the foundations of your business.
Yes, exactly. That's right.
And so once somebody has figured that out, I think something I see a lot of people do right now is when they're just starting out is wanting to spend a lot of money on all the bells and whistles, all the cool online stuff, all the software and the websites.
Right.
Do you think that's necessary right off the bat? Do you think somebody needs, $5,000-$6,000 to start a nutrition business, or can it be done easier?
Yeah, it can be done a lot easier. Like for me at this point, all I use is one platform. It's called Simplero, and I run my entire business off of it, and Zoom, right? Like I do Zoom videos, and like live streams on Facebook. That's that's pretty much all I invest when it comes to marketing, is that I am paying for a Zoom account, like a professional Zoom account. It's like $15 a month. And then this Simplero platform, it costs me $150 US a month. But if you just got started and you didn't have that many products or, a lot of e-courses, then it would only cost like $97 a month. But like, I think it's a good idea to start off with something like that. Here's what you have to have in place first. You have to have the niche in place and know what your signature system is, what it's designed to do. And then you want to create a free gift that enrolls people onto your email list so that they can get a taste of what you do, and you can invite them to be your client through a follow-up, email or a video series or something like that. So you don't even want to invest in like starting with Simplero until you've done all that inner foundational work and you've created that free gift, because you're just going to sit there and spend, money on a system, a platform that you can't use, that you don't have even anybody to sell to because you haven't actually started building a list, right? Or a following on Facebook or something like that. I mean, I think most people, like I always tell my students right from the beginning that they should be, even if they're not done school, they should start their Facebook page. And they should be sharing other people's work on the topics that they're the most passionate about to start building their Facebook following. And the sooner they can, decide on their niche, even while they're in school, and then, start building that list of people. So then when they go to sell something, they have somebody to sell it to. And that's like one of the things that you can do to get clients that is something you set up once and it works for you, right? So, say for example, with just using the Nourish Nutrition Business Program as an example, I have a free gift and people put their name and email in and they get 3 videos over a certain period. Actually, I think it's 5 training videos over a period of, a couple of weeks. And from there, I invite people to have a conversation with me if they would like to. And that is the kind of thing that you do as a free gift, because that's how you get clients, right? Like you have to actually get on the phone with somebody and talk with them and make sure that what you offer is a good fit for what they need. And that can happen automatically once you've set it up. So you could be like, say you just finished school and you have like young children and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to get clients and I have to get a babysitter every single time I go out. Well, you do want to do all those things, but there's something you can do online by setting up this opt-in series that can invite people to be your clients while you're sleeping. So that can, as much as it's like, you have to learn a new technology, like having an email list and create a free gift, which can be as simple as like, something you can consume in 5 minutes. It doesn't have to be as extensive as what I shared that I have, but I've been in business for a long time, right? So it's just a little bit easier because I've already overcome a lot of the technical hurdles. But it can be as simple as a follow-up email after like a PDF that you've sent out with some great information. And then you literally don't have to leave your computer and you could be getting clients that are anywhere in the world and they could be signing up for this free gift at any time of the day or night.
And so it's funny, we were talking about this off air just before the show started, the importance of the email list and how we can't be relying on those other social media platforms, whether it's Facebook or Instagram, to actually run our businesses fully on them. Because as we've seen in the past years and now the past few weeks even, things can change pretty quickly. I mean, 2 years ago, Facebook pages used to get massive reach within the audience. You could essentially sell your stuff without it costing you anything. Yeah. And now we're at the point where your Facebook page gets, terribly low reach unless you put some dollars behind it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's essentially a pay-to-play space now.
Yeah.
And you can't get away doing anything for free. But once you get those emails on your list, you own the data. You can reach those people directly. So I think it can't be overstated that it's really important to build that email list up front.
Yeah, exactly. And making sure that if you're going to put the work into it and the money to actually host the email list, that you want to be really strategic in what you put there so that it does lead to clients. Because sometimes I think we get this idea like we're just going to be like, I hear this all the time, I'm just going to get myself out there. And then somehow people are going to see you because you're out there, they see you, that they're going to become your clients. And that's actually not how people work. They actually need to be invited. So every single thing that you do to, open the channels for clients to be able to come to you, just because you're seen doesn't mean that they will actually even know that you have a service to sell, right? Like, you have to literally invite them. So when you basically give them this free gift, and you would think, oh, even if you mentioned something about your services in it, that they are going to do anything about that. They likely won't unless you really distinctly tell them how they can get more information by inviting them to, something else that you have. Preferably when you first get started in business, it should just be something called a discovery session, which is a conversation that you have with your clients or potential clients to make sure that they're a good match for you. And then also to make sure that what you offer is actually going to solve their problem. And it gives them more confidence to enroll in your package because they've had a chance to connect with you and learn more about your program, or invite them specifically in like the follow-up emails in your opt-in series or follow-up. Let's call it follow-up. There's so many in internet marketing. There's so many different names for the same thing. Sometimes I use multiple names, so we'll call it a follow-up series. This is basically where you make a list and then you put, and you automate it so that it automatically sends your client something. So I'm going to really reel this back here, like so that in case somebody is listening and they don't even know what this is. So you have this like email service provider, and it's a place where everybody who opts in, so they put their name and email into one of those little boxes that you see that people put out there when you get a free gift. And once they opt in, you have it set up so that it sends people something like every 3 days or every 7 days. So you create this follow-up series that's designed to invite your client to work with you. And one of the things that, just to be clear, you have to make that invitation. You really just can't assume that they will do it, or that they'll do it because you asked them once or invited them once. I've heard that statistically, people don't take action on an offer unless they've heard about it 7 times. So I actually aim to. I often don't get quite to 7. I'm pretty sure I have at least 7 follow-ups for the Nourish Nutrition Business Program, but other ones, sometimes I get up to like 3 or 5. But my intention is to optimize every single follow-up series that I have, because, I have different programs, being a business coach for holistic nutritionists and health coaches, but also being a holistic weight loss mentor. So I have, 3 different programs essentially that I have follow-up series for. So my aim is to get 7 on each one. And then that way I've utilized statistics, which are helpful, right? To know that it mostly takes 7 offers, 7 invitations. So go ahead.
If that's the kind of the sweet spot, you definitely don't want to be under that.
Yeah.
It's funny because learning about marketing in the personal training space, I followed this guy called Jonathan Goodman, who runs the Personal Trainer Development Center, and he was talking about 8 emails.
Okay.
And essentially exactly what you were saying, 7 emails of providing value and talking about stories that kind of showcase what you do, talking about testimonials, showing content that you've put together in the past, and then the 8th email was the offer itself.
Okay.
So you had that build up with essentially building trust throughout the sequence, and then essentially, it was clear throughout the whole thing that you were going to get a pitch at some point,
right? Yeah.
But it only came on the last email where it was like, this is the call to action essentially.
Okay.
After you've proven yourself, but yeah, it's so the numbers make sense there.
Yeah, and I look at it like I don't personally wait till that last email, just because of different personality types that people have. Like there are some people who they hear about something, they get a really good feel from it, and they like your vibe, and they're like, how can I call you like tomorrow? Like they don't want to sit there and watch all your videos. They actually want you to do it with them or teach it to them personally. So you have these like different kinds of clients. There's the people that, they want to do, a little bit more of a do-it-yourself approach. And they want to know all the information before they take action. But then there's that other group. It's like an 80-20 thing, right? So 80% of the people on your list, they want the lower end product where they aren't paying for the like handhold. But then there's a 20% that they're like, they would never want to do your e-course because they just know that they won't do it, right? They know they're the kind of person that has to be handheld through it. So often those people they won't wait till the end of the series. In fact, they might not actually get to the end of the series and then they never get the invitation. So that's like a little practical tip that I find very useful. And that gets you those, clients that they're great to work with because they want the full meal deal. And then as a practitioner, you get to take them all the way. And that's so satisfying.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think what you're saying here, having essentially a call to action on each email that you send out is important. I wouldn't either wait until the last one.
Yeah.
In fact, I think everything you put out in terms of content, you should have a call to action on it at some point. Whether it could be as simple as, read this next.
That's right.
That's a call to action, right? Or listen to that podcast that I was on, or download this free spreadsheet that I put together for you. Whatever it is, you want to encourage people to take the next step towards you, even if it's not necessarily the call right now, but something in between.
Yeah, getting them engaged with the process.
Exactly. Yeah. And for those people who are, want the full meal deal, who are ready to jump in full force, what do you do next? I remember reading through your program. You have the client enrollment system, which I found really intuitive and it made sense. It flowed really well.
Yeah.
Could you talk us through that system that you put together?
Yeah, exactly. So actually, it follows perfectly with the conversation that we are just having, because the step one is invite people to apply for your discovery session, right? So this would be something that could do as a setup in your follow, like you'd set it up in your follow-up email. So this just happens automatically. Every single person who subscribes to your list gets this offer to apply for the discovery session. So what you do is you basically have them like click to a form to fill out some information where you can decide preemptively whether or not you think that what you offer is a good fit for that client. And then, it also helps so that the people who are signing up understand that you're serious. This is a business and you're not just going to take anyone. It's not a free session. It's a discovery session. So what it is basically an opportunity for them to make a clear and confident decision about taking their next step. And it's like a coaching call essentially, right? So you're going to really like ask them some deep questions to help them to get access to their inner why that would drive them to actually invest. Because that is the thing, right? It's like if a person is not willing to invest time, money, or energy into what they say they want, then they're not going to be a good client. So if they can't even fill out a form, then they're definitely not going to be able to invest time, energy, or money. So it kind of helps you to not just be giving random free sessions everywhere. So that the step two is have that person fill out an application form. And then, from there, you contact them by email and you say, thank you, I received your application and I would love to chat with you, right? And I usually put something in there like showing them that I actually read their application and I understand what they're struggling with. And I look forward to offering them a pathway to solve that problem. So then I send them a link to my online calendar from there. So that's step 3. So I recommend for people who are just in startup to use something like Time Trade Calendar because it's really affordable. It's like something like $60 a year. And then you don't play phone tag with these people, right? Or email tag. You literally set up your calendar and you say, this is when I'm available. And then you send them that link and they pick a time that's convenient for you as a practitioner. And this is really, really important because if you do it the other way, you just open up your calendar, it's really distracting to feel like at any point somebody could just book a session. Because you have other things to do, right? In a business, you have business development, you have marketing, you have what's it called? Where you're creating new content, right? So there's a lot of things you have to do in your business. So you don't want to feel like at any point somebody could just like book a session and you're like, oh, I was planning on doing this thing and now I have to serve a client. You want to set the time aside for the client so that you feel like excited that you're going to spend the time with them, not interrupted. So that is an important distinction because sometimes people, when they first get started, they're just like, I'll take any client I can possibly get at any time. And it just kind of sets you up for running around like a chicken with your head cut off, trying to make other people comfortable. And, it's like you're a business, right? So you have to set it up to work for you.
Exactly.
So that's the, Time Trade is a good one. I actually don't use it anymore because I have upgraded to something called Acuity Scheduler. It's more advanced and it costs like $15 a month instead of the $60 a year. And it does actually do a lot of work for me automatically. So, because this system is more affordable when you first get started, but you're going to have to do a little bit of work, right? Because you do have to personally reply. You do have to personally give them that, Time Trade link. But when you're first getting started, you have more time. So it's a good place for a startup to get started. And of course, the technology is a little bit easier than setting up Acuity. So, but for those who are listening who are more advanced, that might be a great link for you to look into because it almost, to me, I think of it like it's because I'm setting up even my online booking system. It's like a VA that you're getting for $15 a month, right? So it's pretty good. Okay, so the next thing we do is send them a note that basically gets them prepared for the nature of a discovery session. This is really, really crucial because some places teach that you should offer free sessions to people to give them a taste of your work. Terrible idea. Terrible. Yeah, because what will happen is they will look at you with their eyes wide open, like overwhelmed with like all of the amazing information that you just gave them. And they'll be like, whoa, I have to go and like spend the next year doing what you told me before I could even think of taking my next steps. Right.
Yeah.
And they think they got everything, right? Like they don't realize that as, you know, a holistic nutritionist, you have an assessment process. They don't know you have that. They don't know how it's even relevant to them because again, they don't know what holistic nutrition consulting is. And that's part of your process, but you don't sell your process to people. You sell the results that you're going to get for them. So if you give them all that information in the free session, like a synopsis of what you would do, then they're going to think, well, thank you for telling me what to do. And I'll just go have to figure out how to do it. Right. It's not that some people, again, that 20% that know they won't do it on their own, they will still potentially follow through and actually become your client, even if you told them the process. But for most people, they're just overwhelmed by it and they don't even know half of what you're saying. Because, like the thing is most people don't even study anatomy and physiology. Like in high school, they teach biology and it's mostly like the environment and animals. They don't teach human physiology. So you start talking about body systems and they don't even know that half of it is, right?
Yeah, you wish they would teach you about yourself a little bit more in school.
Oh,
sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. But I think people would be even more skeptical and asking questions when they went to the doctor. So I think that'd be very effective in our society.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's see here. So you give them this note, and what it does is one of the words I use in my follow-up system is this is not your run-of-the-mill nutrition consulting session. This is a coaching session. And what that means is I'm going to help you get to the underlying, emotional reasons that you're stuck. And, we're going to look at how it's impacting your, basically how it's keeping you from having the life you desire and, how your life could actually be if you solve this problem, right? So that's not nutrition consulting at all. That has nothing to do with vitamins, minerals, foods, nothing. It's coaching. So it's basically designed to get the person to access their inner motivation to change. Because most people aren't thinking deeply, unfortunately. They don't think beneath the surface of what's going on, and they don't recognize like how having this health challenge, like what is keeping them from in their life or how it's harming their life on so many different levels. So you have to get them to realize that before they're willing to invest the time, the money, and the energy. And if you don't get them to those emotional reasons, then they'll come up with excuses because they won't see how important it is.
I see a parallel here between what you said earlier in terms of finding your niche when you have to do your own work on yourself and figure out deep down inside why you're doing it, how you're going to help people. Yeah. And then you're essentially, what you're saying here is in that, in that session, you're going to try and extract that out of them. You're going to try and help them through that process of figuring out deep down inside of them what their real issue is, and then try to essentially get them to engage with you emotionally as much as possible, so that they're invested emotionally in the process, and then a lot more likely to then invest financially into themselves moving forward. Yeah,
exactly. And it helps you to isolate with them what their goals are, like what they actually want to accomplish. And then when you're working with them, when they get to inevitable obstacles, and that comes happens in any situation, any health challenge, relationships, in starting your business, inevitably there will come a point where you're like stuck or you want to give up. And that's that inner work that you do on your business and the inner work that your client did in that session with you, is you can actually remind them of why they really wanted to do this. And this is not time to quit. Right. So it serves a major purpose. So I always think of it like, even if a person does not decide to become my client, at the end of the day, that first session that they have with me, they're already enrolled in the first step of the program. So even, sometimes people will not become your client the first time, but maybe they'll go away and they're like, 6 months later, they're like, yeah, I'm still struggling with this stuff that I said was so important to me to do something about, and I still haven't done anything about it. So maybe I do actually need some coaching, which is, it's, I don't know. I could just feel like personally, I love deep conversation. So I want to go there with people. I enjoy a sales conversation because for me, it's just an opportunity to talk to somebody about something that's really important to them and is also really important to me. And, we don't get to have those conversations on a regular basis with people. People will complain about their health problems, but, all the whole thing of having a health problem is your body is speaking to you. It's speaking to you about your life and what's not working. And so I think of a sales conversation as a sacred space where somebody is coming to get transformation. There's like a lot of reasons why they would be holding onto that weight that are emotional, that, if we actually work on that stuff and not just the diet, the detox, and the lifestyle, they don't just get to be skinny, they get to change their entire life. And when you come to a sales conversation with that feeling in relation to the work that you do, I do weight loss, so that's why I use that example. You'll enjoy the sales conversation, and even if you don't get a client, you will feel like you got a lot of value from just learning about how people think and where they get stuck. And, it gives you ideas for how you can make your program better, because the next time you hear an objection that's similar, like one of the ones I'm hearing right now is, I don't like to cook. So how can I do your program? Right. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, oh, okay. So I need to add a module. Like, how do you do the program if you don't like to cook? So instead of feeling like, oh, well, the program isn't right for them because, they aren't accepting the reality that if you want to have that kind of food, you actually have to prepare it, right? It gives me an opportunity to think more creatively and actually provide something. And that is, what some of the value that you can get from doing a sales conversation, to get ideas, to make your program better. And also, as you work with clients, and you'll create, ideally what you do is you create a signature system. This is the program, how you walk people step by step to get the results. And with each client, you'll learn more about how you can make it better. So it's not about, starting your business being perfect. It's about having a plan for sure. And, doing the inner work and getting organized for that first client. But you're going to learn so much along the way. And as you learn sales, everything you're doing that you're learning from people in sales is going to be like, I like to think about it like, wow, because sometimes people think, oh, I don't want to do that. It's a waste of my time if somebody doesn't become my client. I turn it around and I go, wow, this is so amazing. This person gave me their time to give me great marketing information, and they gave it to me for free, So yeah, it's all context.
Every conversation you have with a potential client or someone that's, in the industry is a chance to learn something and then improve what you do as a professional.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, sometimes they will be not ready like now, but they'll be ready later. So you just have to relax about it, not get attached to the sales process. In the program, the Nourish Nutrition Business Program, I do have a sequence of questions that you ask people so that you can feel confident that when you get on those calls that you know what to say. Because that's another thing that I think people are kind of nervous about. First of all, they're nervous about sales and the possibility of rejection, but just feeling shy and not knowing what to say. So it's always great to have a template to start with. And of course, it can be customized to your unique voice and what's comfortable for you to say. So that really, really helps to have a template like that.
So when that client has actually signed on with you and did that first session and things are moving forward, let's take a step back, I guess, from that. Yeah. How do you recommend that people package their services when it comes to consulting? Do you work on a week-to-week basis? Is it a certain number of sessions that they do with you? How do you usually go about that?
I have a couple different ways that I work with people. So I create a jump start, which is just basically 6 sessions. It's for, the people that don't want to go into the emotional work. It's just the diet, detox, and lifestyle. And then for people that want to go for the full transformation, then I offer a 6-month private package, as well as what I call in the nutrition, in the business world, they call it a VIP day. In the nutrition world, I call it a retreat day because I find that us holistic people feel weird about, saying the word VIP, right? Because we're just so alternative. That just sounds so hoity-toity, I guess. um, that's for the people that want the royal handholds. They want you to come to their house. They want you to, take them grocery shopping. They want personalized, customized, everything. Then, those packages are for them. But most people, I think the Jumpstart is the best, way to start with your business because first of all, what if you're not a 6-month person? What if you because some people, they think, oh, I want to offer a 6-month service, but they get 2 months in and they're like, I don't want to see this person for another 5 or, 4 months. Right.
Yeah.
And, you just might not be that kind of person and you might feel like you're running out of things to do. That's why I recommend the Jumpstart for most people. Just get started with that. Then, and actually it's easier to sell one thing than, the more things you have on the table, like the confused mind says no, right?
Exactly.
So what you want to do is if you have multiple programs, then you just listen in the sales conversation for what the person needs. And then you make them the offer for the thing that actually matches what they need. And then, say, for example, if I was having a conversation with somebody and it sounds like the best thing would be for a 6-month program, that's what I'm going to talk about. And I'm going to talk about how that parts of the program that solve the problem they think they have, because you don't want to just sit there and talk about your program and how amazing it is and everything that's in it, because it'll actually overwhelm people and they'll go, oh my gosh, it's too much work to lose weight or to get healthy. You just talk to the specific things that they talked about in the session to keep it simple. But say, for example, if they were like, oh, that sounds amazing. I would love to do that. But honestly, I just can't afford it. Right. Because that's the things that you'll hear is I can't afford it. I don't have enough time. I need to speak to my husband. Right. So the typical things. So, you can work with them a little bit there because it may not actually be true. They may actually be able to find the money. They just haven't prioritized their self. They never, they might just have never thought of investing money in themselves like that. Right. So it's kind of blowing their mind that you're, even offering them something like that. But then there's some people who genuinely cannot afford it. They really don't. They don't have credit. They have no, family that would lend them money or whatever. So, if you have the Jumpstart program, it's a lot less of an investment. So you could downsell them into that. But like I said, I recommend that you just start off with the Jumpstart as a new practitioner and just get comfortable with that. 6 sessions over 6 weeks or 12 weeks, however long it takes for people to get the transformation in your program. And you want to be ready with that. And that's why in the Nourish Nutrition Business Program, we do have a module on, creating a Jumpstart. We have a module on creating a signature system. And again, the signature system could be only 6 sessions. It might be 3 steps, 7 steps. And, it's probably too much to get to in this call. But the point is you want to really outline something that, you can walk people through step by step and package it in a package, not a one-off session. Because if you don't like selling, oh my goodness, imagine how much selling you're going to do to just get one person to keep coming back, never mind getting new clients, right?
Exactly.
So I haven't done one-off sessions for a very long time.
It's very true. I mean, in what I do in personal training, it's the same thing. Nobody really wants one-offs, especially not me.
Yeah.
Because like you said, I have to keep selling them over and over again. So let's say you do the 6-week Jumpstart program. How do you space out the sessions? Is it just one a week, or do you have sometimes people spread out the sessions maybe 2 weeks apart? Do you find that it's too much? What's your take on that?
I think each person has to decide based on the particular program and how much support they feel that people will need. And basically, it's an individual thing. So for me, I like to have the sessions in the beginning when I'm for a 6-month program, you don't want to meet somebody every single week, right? Because that's you're actually adding something to their plate. They have to show up every single week to a call with you, right? So, if you're doing a longer program, it should be every second week. But when you're doing a Jumpstart, you're trying to immerse them quickly so that they can quickly get results and get momentum with them, right? They've actually done research that people have an attention span for about 90 days. That's like the best kind of program you can make, whether it's like a private consulting or an e-course. So I like the idea of doing ideally the 6 sessions, like every single week, unless you like, sometimes you might do, okay, let's say you're going to do the first month, maybe you do the health history or something like that. I know it's something that they don't teach really in CSNN, but I use it, in my practice, because I like to, ask people questions from like before they were even born to see like, how was their mother healthy when she was pregnant with them. I find, everything is helpful to know. So, you get that information, and then you might, the next week give them, say you do an assessment on them, give them the symptomatology. And then the next week you want them to start the diet, but maybe they don't feel like they can start the diet plan. Like they need 2 weeks or something like that before they have time to go grocery shopping or something. So you could like even do like, okay, the first month we're going to go, 3 sessions in a row. And then, we'll spread out the other ones, 2 weeks apart. It just really depends. Like there's no one way of doing it. It just depends on actually what's going to work for your clients and the system you've created. Like I feel like when people are doing a cleanse, they often need the weekly support because, things come up. They want to know, like, if they have a detox symptom, they want help. If they're constipated, they don't want to wait 2 weeks. They need to get helped right away, right? So it's just going to be totally based on either how you just need to do it to make it work, or, how you can plan your life, right? Like maybe you're just like, the only way I can imagine doing it is every second week for 6 sessions. So that would be 12 weeks.
Yeah.
There's no one right way.
Okay, that's great info. So before we end the call, Sherry, I wanted to ask you a couple questions that are loosely related to what we talked about. So the first one pertains to books. What 1 or 2 books would you recommend to all your clients, and more specifically to your nutrition professional clients, so the people who are trying to build a practice?
Yeah. Well, it's so funny because the first thing that comes to mind is all like nutrition related books. It's not at all business books. Business is like, I don't know, in book form, it's often pretty dry. So I'm going to give you some practice books that are going to add some dimensions to the work that we do. And that is Paul Pitchford's Healing with Whole Foods. That's a favorite of mine. Because of the Chinese medicine perspective, you can go deeper into the uniqueness of the person and how to use food as medicine in a deeper way. I also like Healing with the Herbs of Life by Leslie and Michael Tierra. I love that one because, say, for example, you go to choose a herb for somebody, they have, anxiety and they have trouble sleeping, and there's like 7 different herbs that you could possibly use. And, from the Western perspective of herbalism, it's kind of like, one herb or like a bunch of different herbs are for the same thing, but, we're not herbalists, right? So it's hard for us to know which one would be best for the client. So if you go into their book, what they do is they give you like some really interesting information, like how is the herb warming? Is it cooling? Is it neutral? And this can help you from not picking something that's going to make your client's situation worse. Like say, for example, you're a cold person and or your client's a cold person and you give them an herb that's cooling, that is for sleeping. It actually might stimulate them and wake them up. And so that to me is like, everybody should have that. And then Healing Wise by Susan S. Weed. And that basically is a book on how to use herbs as more like nutrition. It's not that she's promoting using herbs as medicine as well, but she loves to use herbs in a nutritive way. So she gives a lot of recipes for herbal infusions. And she has the beginning of the book is all about like the different perspectives on how we come to the work we do. So she has like 3 different categories. There's like the Western scientific, there's the herbal heroic tradition, and then there's the wise woman way. And she goes through the different methods, and it's fascinating journey into like really like getting connected to how you want to serve people and, looking at health in a holistic way. And, we're all familiar with what the, medical scientific context is, but I'm just going to touch on the other two quickly just to inspire people to get this book. So the heroic is, where, you come to the work and you think like, oh, everybody's just sick because they're toxic, right? And if you just took more nutrition and you just stop being so toxic and having all these bad lifestyle things, and, it's kind of the thing is like, if you're sick, it's your fault because you did these things wrong. And then the wise woman tradition is nourishing wholeness. So nourishing through herbs, nourishing through food, nourishing through community, nourishing through connection, and that nobody is you're not the healer. Like the person's body is the healer, and you're like there as an equal with the client. And, it's a dialogue that you have together that allows the way to unfold for what you need to do. And that can be really, really empowering as a practitioner, because if you get stuck on thinking you have to know the answers before you have a client, you'll never get the experience. And you really need to step into your work from a place of trusting that, I don't know, people's belief systems, but let's call it God, the creator, universe, whatever you want to call it, that, it's not just you and that person that wants that person to be healed, but it's the intrinsic life force that is designed to heal. And also that there is a higher power and a higher, calling on that person's life. And that, if they've come to you and like they were drawn to you, that you will be given the knowledge that you need. And if you don't have it, it'll come to you when you need it. You don't need it until you need it, right? So it's never going to come to you before you have that client that you need it for. And that really helps me, because I never step into a session with somebody thinking that I know all the answers. And I really just trust that if the creator brought them to me, then the answer will be revealed in the process, and we'll do it together. And it's not just about me, being super smart and being able to find, and be a good detective and figure things out. It's a relationship, and we're on equal ground, and we're going to figure it out together. And I'm going to hold space for them. And I'm going to be that person who basically has the faith in them and the faith in their body to heal for them until they have it for themselves. And that's so much of the work that we do is actually really about holding space for people and helping them to really have that faith in their body's intrinsic capacity to heal. Without that faith, then it's hard to take the actions you need to take if you don't actually believe that your body is designed to heal itself. So what that book does is it just really gives you different contexts. It helps you to also look at, like, when you're looking at someone and the situation, how you practice the work that determines whether you're working scientifically, heroically, or in the wise woman tradition. It's actually not the medicine you're using, right? Because you can, be a holistic nutritionist and come at your work from a really scientific way. You could also be a medical doctor and come to the work using drugs, but in a wise woman way of nourishment. Like, say, for example, things that are controversial, like, whether or not somebody chooses to use something, it doesn't matter so much what they use. It's like, what's the mindset that they're doing it? Are they doing it from a place of compassion? Like, for example, if you have a migraine coming on, are you going to say to yourself, well, I'm going to make myself suffer for 3 days because I ate dairy and it's my fault, and then put your body in a bigger state of stress? Or are you going to lovingly take some Advil and then, with the headache gone, really sit down and look at, what can you do next month, when you say you're premenstrual and you get a headache, to make sure that you don't go into a state of deficiency or stress that creates that headache next time. That would be a more compassionate way, still using the medical perspective, like the medical medicine, but the wise woman perspective, essentially. That's what I'm trying to say. So I just love that book. It's so empowering.
So we'll make sure to list all those three in the show notes for people to easily find online. And then when it comes to people that have had a big influence on you on the business and the marketing side, if you were to recommend 2 or 3 people that our community follows online,
Sure.
Who should they follow?
Yeah. Well, I learned, like, everything that I learned about coaching and how to set up a coaching business using, like, the package system, the package model that I teach through Kendall Summerhawk. I took her marketing. What does she call it? It's a marketing and it's a business training program, Marketing and Soul. Oh, I'm forgetting the name of it. It's a certification program for people who want to be business coaches, essentially.
Okay.
I learned everything literally from her training, and everything to do with online marketing, I learned from lots of different people. Like there's just so many different courses out there that you could take on internet marketing, but I don't necessarily recommend doing those things until you have that foundation in place for your coaching business, doing that inner work. It's called Money Marketing and Soul Coach Training. That was what I learned from her. And she has a live stream that she does, and she'll help you to not be afraid to charge higher end for your packages, even when you're new in business. Because that's one of the things that I find that people struggle with. So I teach that in my program, but it really helps. And even my clients will say, and you'll see sometimes they post it in the Facebook group, that they want to hear from other people. Like they ask me, who else can I, hear this from to help me believe it, right? Because if you don't believe something, so I can tell you, sure, you should be charging $3,000-$4,000 for a coaching program, but that's a shock to you and you've never done it before and you've never heard of anyone doing it, it seems crazy. But if you go to these other people who are doing it and their clients are doing it, then it really helps you to believe in it. And then once you can believe in it, then you can do it, because belief is like the beginning. And there's different ways to help yourself believe in it. Too much to get into on this call, but there's so much value. You have to really understand the value of what you're doing and the impact that it makes on someone's life. So that's the inner work you do. Of course, you get the person in the sales conversation for them to see the value of how it'll impact their life. And that has to be a match. And when that's a match, then you're going to feel confident to charge the prices that are actually going to give you a sustainable business. Most people don't do the numbers on their business. So they don't actually set their packages up so that they can make a living. It's a really easy calculation. It's just like, how much do you need to make to put a roof over your head and to buy your organic groceries and your supplements and, do some fun things and have some of life's little luxuries. And then you have to decide how many clients you want to serve. And then you have to in a year and divide that by that number that you need to make. And that's your package price. Okay. So, that's a bit, maybe out of, beyond where someone would be at in this conversation if they just got started in business. But, if you're already in business, you've been doing one-off sessions and it's not actually putting, the groceries on the table, then, you get it, right? Sometimes we just have to be in something and until we really understand why this is so important to create packages and make sure that you create a viable business and then run the numbers properly. But the next person is Shonda Sumter. She is also a business coach, and I haven't actually taken any trainings from her, but I follow her live stream. And she's just really inspirational. She does a 6 a.m. live stream. It's called Hardcore Business is her Facebook page. So every morning as I'm putting my makeup on, I just listen to her as a sort of a little ritual. And it's part of my mindset practice to be always listening to people who are inspirational. And, you learn so much from other people who are successful in business. And her main thing that she promotes is building your email list. So while everybody has been poo-pooing the email list, she's been still going strong with teaching people how to do telesummits and things like that to build their list. And who else would I say that I listen to? I haven't listened to her for a while, but there's this woman, her name is Katrina Ruth. And she is this wild, crazy, tattooed lady who every second word is a swear word. And her thing is to really get you to just trust that you can make a living being yourself, and really always asking you questions to ask yourself to make sure that you're, not trying to be somebody else or trying to create a business because you think it will be profitable or something like that. But it's just you sharing your heart, sharing your soul, being yourself. She's not everybody's cup of tea. I haven't listened to her for a long time because it depends, you go into different energies in your life. And about a year ago, I was in a place where I was starting to feel wow, I had accomplished so many of the things that I had already wanted to accomplish and, professionally, business wise. And I was starting to feel stagnant. And she just really lit a fire inside of me and like opened me up to more possibility again. So those are the three people that I would follow, and they'll really help you to believe that, you know, what you're doing has value and that you don't have to have been a nutritionist for 10 years to offer, you know, a service that actually is going to make a difference in people's lives. And, you know, it's one of those things where you actually have to, in order to really have a lot of confidence, you have to have experience. So you just have to have like enough bravery to get started and trust that as you're building out your program, the people you're working with will help you make it better. So it doesn't like, and in the beginning, you might think, oh my God, is my program even worth $3,000? However, you don't, you think that what you know is like obvious. So you just don't see it as being valuable. But to the average person, it is extremely valuable information that they did not want to have to go to school to learn. And they don't want to read all the books that you've read to learn it. They just want you to simplify it, tell them what to do. So sometimes we just don't value the basic information that we have. And then you just ask yourself, okay, if this program is going to be $3,000, this is what I need to make per package with my clients in order to have a sustainable, viable business, then what do I need to include in this program to make it worth $3,000 in my mind? And then you just put it in there.
Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense, Sherry. I wanted to thank you so much for hopping on the call today with us. If people want to learn more about the business program that you offer and everything else that you do, where can people find you?
They can go to my website. It's www.nutritionwisdom.ca. And there is a tab there that has dropped down to a free gift. It's called Nourish Your Nutrition Business. So it says free webinars. Drop it down, go to the last one. It says Nourish Your Nutrition Biz. You click on that and it sends you to an opt-in form where basically you can get an experience of everything that I just explained on this call, because that's how I set up my business. So, you know, you may want to go through that because you're interested in learning more with me, or you might just want to go through it so that you can see how this could work for you as an example. And then, of course, Facebook is another place you can connect with me at Nutrition Wisdom. It's Sherry Rothwell with Nutrition Wisdom, with Sherry Rothwell on Facebook. And I think the URL is just facebook.com/nutritionwisdom.ca. And then I have a group actually associated with my business page that is just for holistic nutritionists who are committed to actually making a living doing this work. So, you know, there's a lot of groups out there who are, you know, holistic nutritionists, but it's just, they're into general information about nutritionists. This is for people who are actually serious and want to make a living being holistic nutritionists or health coaches. And it's called Holistic Nutritionpreneurs. And that group is for free, associated with my Facebook page. And I do interview series that get shared in there and exclusive live streams just for that group and things like that you need to be in that group to join.
Yeah, so
and it's free.
We'll put all of those in the show notes for people to find. Again, thank you so much, Sherry, and I look forward to talking to you soon.
Okay, thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye-bye.